Hello and welcome back to another one of my videos, or welcome if this is the first video of mine that you're watching. This is the vegan remix, and today I, a New Zealander, am going to be trying to make an American apple pie, a classic American apple pie, and tasting it and seeing how it is for the first time. I'm going to be following a recipe by Dell's Cooking Trust. I'll link the recipe down below for you guys to have a look at or follow along if you would like. But yeah, I'm going to be making the pastry as well instead of using store-bought pastry. We're going to see how it goes. So I have nothing else to say, let's start baking. In this bowl here, I've got 3.5 cups of flour. I'm going to start by adding in a pinch of salt, 2 teaspoons of sugar, and quickly give that a mix with a fork. I'm then going to take my butter, which is softened, and I'm using margarine, vegan margarine, 280 grams. It says to chop it, so I'm just going to put it in some bigger chunks, a little like that. I'm then going to use my fingers and rub in the butter so that there are still some lumps about a pea-sized, but so that it's completely through the flour. Once you're happy with the texture of your flour and butter crumbled through, so it kind of looks, there's all different sizes, you're going to slowly add in 2/3 of a cup of ice cold water while mixing with a fork. The last little bit you can mix by hand. You're also going to want to shape it into a ball so that we can cover it and refrigerate it. You also don't want to knead it too much like with the dough, because you don't want all of the gluten to develop. You want a little bit but not a lot. So when it comes into a ball like that, we're going to glad wrap it and refrigerate for 30 minutes. While the dough is chilling in the fridge, you're going to start on the filling. The recipe calls for about 5 to 6 medium to large size apples. And we're going to peel and slice them. So just starting by peeling your apples and then slicing them into slices. I'm just going to be reusing my bowl from earlier to save on dishes, and because there's already flour in this filling recipe, so there's not really anything in there that will affect it. So one done, and I've still got these ones to do. Now they're all peeled, I'm going to slice them. It's a little unclear on the instructions for slicing, but based off of the photo, it's not like super duper thin slices. So I'm just going to half it again, get rid of the small amount of the core, and then just kind of not roughly chop, a little bit thinner than roughly chop. I think I'm going to go for roughly this kind of size. And I'm going to chuck them in the bowl. I needed a bigger bowl. So now for the lemon. Lemons here are really expensive. This cost me, just this one, about $2, I think. So using the small side of the grater, I'm just going to zest it. When zesting lemons, you got to be careful, because if you go too far down to the white bit of the lemon, it gets really bitter. So you only really want the yellow bit. But you also want to get as much as possible as you can off the lemon. Just going to put that in there. And then you need about 2 tablespoons of juice. After they're all sliced in a smaller bowl, you're going to combine 150 grams of white sugar, which I have here, 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and a full teaspoon of cinnamon. Put those in a separate bowl. Combine them. I'm going to give them a good whisk. Then sprinkle this mixture over this one. Stir to coat, so I'm just going to kind of toss them, I guess. I'm then going to add 1/4 cup of apple juice or boiled apple cider. I'm not making the same mistake I did with the clear saffets video. If you want to check that one out, you can. I'll link it in the information card. Then give those a mix. And I'm now going to let that sit for 20 minutes and we'll come back to it when the pastry's ready. It's not quite been 20 minutes, so we're going, or while we wait the last little bit of the 20 minutes, I'm going to grease a pie dish, or the closest thing I have to a pie dish, which is this, and it says to be deep dish, which is more than 5 centimeters. This is about 5 centimeters, so I'm hoping that counts. To grease it, I'm just going to use some margarine and a paper towel. Just like this. I'm also going to preheat the oven. You want to preheat it to 190 degrees on bake. Right, so I'm going to start working with the dough. The dough has to do both the top and the bottom. So I'm going for a 1/3 and a 2/3 split. 2/3 for the base, 1/3 for the lattice on top. Not going to weigh it, just going to go quite rough. Maybe there. That looks rough enough. And starting with the larger portion, I'm just going to roll it out. My aim here is to get a surface that is large enough to cover the base and up the edges of the pie dish. I'm now going to check this, and I think I'm pretty much there. There might be 1 or 2 little spots where I just want to roll it a little more. And then we're going to attempt to transfer it to the dish. I don't want to be stretching the pastry too much once I've got it in the dish like this. So I'm going to gently lift the edge before pushing it down so that the pastry goes all the way to the bottom and doesn't stretch, because otherwise the pastry will shrink in the oven. I'm now going to take my knife and cut the extra long pieces of pastry, the excess off. I want to leave a little bit extra so that I can potentially do some sort of pattern around the edge, but I don't want too much. Now before I roll out the lattice and work on it, I'm going to scoop in some of the filling. I'm going to try not to put any of the juice, just go with mostly the apples. I definitely think that I have too much apple for the size of my pie tin, but we're just gonna make it work. And I still have more left over, even though that this is like quite a bit over the pastry. But I'm now gonna top it with approximately 2 tablespoons of diced butter. Try and spread it around a little bit. And then I'm gonna put it in the fridge while I work on the lattice, and then it'll be time to bake it. Into the fridge. Alright, now for the lattice. Again, I'm going to flour my work surface. And I'm going to roll out this other piece of dough. Again, into a circle round shape. Approximately, or just slightly larger than the size of the dish we're using. Okay, so for the lattice, you're gonna roll out your space, take a knife and cut even sized pieces. Then I'm just gonna take every second piece and interweave it. So they will look a little something like that, and you'll do it for the whole piece, and as you go down, I'll show you what it looks like finished. And that is the finished lettuce. Now, I try and get it on the pie. This has been in the oven for about an hour and 10 minutes. I put some tin foil over the top to prevent or slow down the browning. But I was waiting for it to get to the point where it's starting to bubble, and we're pretty much there now. So I'm going to say it's done, but I'm not going to be able to try it until it completely cools down. So I'll see you later to try it. But this is what it looks like fresh out of the oven. So it's been quite some time since I took the pie out of the oven, and I tried to cut a slice nicely to get a photo, but it's all crumbled apart. So we're going to try it and see what I think of it. But it turned out really, really nicely. I'm quite happy with how the lattice turned out. I don't think there's too much color. I probably should have done an egg wash in the end, or just brushed it with some milk. The filling seems to be fairly set. It's still a little bit, like after I've cut it, there's a little bit of liquid running around in there, but I'm hoping the pastry's cooked. So let's see how the slice is looking. The big pie definitely looks much prettier, but nonetheless, we can try it. The top pastry, the bottom pastry. It's a little bit soggy and soft, but cooked through. Now for a piece with some filling. I'm curious because apple pie I know has like apple chunks in it, and it has like a similar sauce, a lot less spice, but yeah, these are apple slices. Oh, that's really good. Try a piece with a piece of pastry. There we go. You can really taste the allspice and the cinnamon. The lemon and the lemon zest give it a nice kind of tang. And the sauce is like thick. It's almost like a gravy, like an apple gravy. Really, really good. I'd say American pies are delicious. I'd definitely make it again, but I think I'd make it a lot smaller because that pie was huge. And yeah, I'd probably put an egg wash on it. But that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If there's anything else you want me to try, New Zealander tries ... comment down below and I'll look through them and I'll definitely pick one. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please consider hitting the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you get notified when I upload. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Till then, peace.